Thank you for joining me today, Ms. Andali. Your books often explore themes of resilience. What inspired you to focus on this theme in your writing?
First of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. It's lovely to see so many people, such a big crowd. Noreen, I actually, didn't go set about to write these stories deliberately. For me, writing the stories, telling these stories authentically, telling stories of people I know, whom I see, whom I see myself in, was very important. So for me, that sort of representation was very important. And it just so happens that, that it kind of ties in with this whole resilience theme. But I'm not really sure about resilience as such. I feel that it's a very strange word. You kind of, it gives a lot of, it attributes a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of power in that word, but I feel that it does not exactly convey what I'm trying to say in my books. I think what I really wanted when I started writing my novels, I wanted to write stories about women like me, girls like me who have a certain direction in their life. And it just so happens that it aligns with this theme, that's all.
Okay, that's amazing. In your books, the protagonists often face significant challenges. So, how do you develop your characters to ensure that they feel realistic and relatable?
So, anytime you write a story, you can't have your protagonists getting everything easily, because otherwise there's no conflict. If there is no conflict in a story, then things will not move forward. And no one wants to read a story where everything is happening perfectly, where, your protagonist is getting everything easily. Just like in life, there are struggles. So in books, in fiction, there have to be struggles where it becomes evident to people, like that this whatever they have achieved has not come easily. So that sort of a struggle is inherent. And for me, I'm primarily a storyteller. I want to tell a good story, and I want to have people hooked to my books. So when they're reading my book, I want them to lose themselves in the story. So this kind of seems like a very natural progression for that, So that's about it.
I think in that way people can also relate to the character, right? Because they can see themselves as someone who's struggling to get to success or to get to a position that they're dreaming about, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important things when in my books is the relatability. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me that your stories are very relatable, and it doesn't matter what religion they follow. So I might write about Muslim characters, but my readers are universal, and some of the problems that people face, especially women face, are universal. So relatability is a huge deal for me, because I'm a very simple person at heart. So the kind of stories I write tend to reflect that.
Moreover, what challenges have you faced as a writer in today's literary landscape?
So I wouldn't say I have faced challenges as such, because the challenges were all there when I started publishing, which was, 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, I wrote a book, and it took me a very long time to find a publisher for it. And once it got published, I just went on writing and didn't stop. So now I'm like at number 49, I think. But I've just given a round figure saying 45 books and more, because it feels weird to me. I find very hard to believe that I've written so many books. So that, challenges for me, I think, is that science has not yet been able to clone people, because I want to write so many more books and there's only one of me. So I wish there was, a way for me to split myself into 2 or 3 so I can write all the books I want to write.
So, if you could meet yourself, your younger self, who just started publishing books, what is an advice you would give her?
I think I would probably say just keep writing, because there's nothing else, nothing much has changed. I think in the 15 years, I just have a huge list of a repertoire of books to my name, But apart from that, I'm still the same. So nothing has changed in the way I am with people. So I would just tell myself, don't stop writing, just keep at it.
Keep writing. That is great advice. You mentioned earlier that you are a storyteller, and your storytelling often incorporates cultural elements. So, how do you balance realism with the cultural context in your narratives?
See, cultural elements for me are very important because I feel that very few, there aren't that many Indian Muslim writers who are writing about, like, whatever your Indian Muslim experience is. It's, if someone is writing it, they're not writing from a lived experience. So for me to portray that lived experience was very important. And culture, of course, forms a huge part of it. Within India, we overall, you might be Muslims, but you are definitely, it depends, like you're from Kerala, I'm from Tamil Nadu. Our cultures are very different because we are all Indians. Our culture, we kind of absorb the culture of our different states. So portraying that, so people tend to have this idea of Muslims as this very homogeneous entity, that, oh, you are Muslims. But I'm like, I'm also an Indian, I'm also South Indian, I'm also from Tamil Nadu. These are all my different identities, You can't just, so they are all part of me. So all these identities are important. And for me, it's important that my stories reflect that.
Yes, absolutely. Can you share a specific moment from your writing process where you felt particularly connected to a character's resilience?
See, since we're talking about resilience, I have to talk about my novel, The Henna Startup, which won the Neve Book Award this year. It's one of my most, I think, so definitely when I was writing this book, and I was writing about this character, the heroine, the protagonist, Abir Maqsood. So she comes across as someone who is very ambitious. She's very striven, and she's very hardworking. So these are qualities that you typically don't associate with, say, a college-going Muslim girl, because a lot of people tend to assume that you are just ticking off a box. You are getting educated, you're ticking off a box, and then it's time for you to get married. And that's what her parents also expect her to do. But she is very different. She is very determined to, do something about herself, about her life. So I think this character specifically kind of really, I would say, influenced me. Each time I write a book, I find myself learning something from the books, from the characters. And from the Henna Startup, I learned what we call resilience over here, and also the importance of not giving up, and how ambition is not an ugly word when it comes to girls. Girls are always told to settle, settle for this, settle for that. And Abhi doesn't want to do that. So that's something that I learned while writing this book.
So you can definitely say that you do take inspiration from your characters as well and apply that to your life, sort of, right?
Yeah, I do, because, see, these characters are all eventually alter egos of myself. They are different versions of me in a different life, in a different timeline, if that were like, a thing.
As a writer, how do you maintain authenticity in portraying both the struggles and triumphs of your characters?
See, I observe a lot. I see things around me a lot. I look at people. I look at how they interact. I look at families. I look at dynamics. And all of that somehow gets absorbed, So I don't really, again, do this consciously. But I kind of feel like this is something that, I need to write about. So there's this one novel I wrote called When She Went Away, which was published in 2015. Yeah, 2015. So that novel was about this young woman, this young girl whose mother leaves her family and goes away. So one day she just gets up and she leaves her family. So this girl has a brother and she has a father. The three of them don't know why their mother has left. So, that was inspired by something I actually saw as a child myself. I saw something happen like that. So these are things where, inspiration comes in many forms. And it all depends on how receptive you are to that inspiration at that time. So as a writer, you have to constantly be receptive. You have to constantly think that yes, I've likened writers to, vultures before, myself included, that, anything you see, you tend to mine it for stories, you tend to mine it for character development. So a lot of that, goes into it. So subconsciously, it happens subconsciously, not consciously. But yeah.
Okay. Many readers have noted the emotional depth in your recent stories. How do you approach writing poignant moments?
Sorry?
How do you approach writing these moments?
So again, emotional core is very strong in my books. So that's not like a recent thing. It's been there from my earliest book onwards. I think that's also because I'm an emotional person. We are an emotional people. Indians are emotional overall. So it kind of tends to bleed into that without. So I kind of find it's natural to portray that, as opposed to writing about something that is cold and disconnected. So there are, I think, very strong family ties in my stories, because again, that's something that I connect to very closely. Family is something very important to me. So that way, that's a sort of reality that kind of slips into my stories.
So, do you take any personal moments that happened in your real life and you felt like you couldn't really react to that in that moment, so you kind of take it into your stories and kind of add
So
it?
I am not going to tell you that. There's so many, and over the years, a lot of stuff has happened. So some of it I've kind of internalized. Some of it has appeared in books. But again, so it's like it's not really like there are certain moments which I have experienced, and I've been able to translate that into a book, an entire book, based on just those moments. Like my novel Asmara's Summer, which was adapted into Dil Dosti Dilemma on Amazon Prime this year. So that happened just because I was passing by that street, that road. In the book, it's called Tannery Road. In the show, they called it Tibri Road. So I was passing by Tannery Road, and I saw that place, and I was like, imagine if I had to live here, how would that be? It would be really difficult for me, And then that moment kind of became the basis for the book.
Also, you often write about the complexities of relationships. So, is there any relationship dynamic you find most interesting in any of your books?
I think mother-daughter relationship is always very interesting. Right from my first novel onwards, I've always found that dynamic very complex, because I think a mother and a daughter share a very, in my experience, it's been a very complex relationship, It's not clear-cut. It's not like the way you see it in movies. Mothers, they show their love in a different way. Their love in a way, is to try to make you stronger. It's not to coddle you. So there is something, in fact, there is a bit I want to read out from the Henna Startup. So I have it here. I'll just read it out. So the Henna Startup is about this girl whose mother is a henna artist. And she... 1 minute. And her mother applies henna to brides during weddings and all that. And there is a moment where her mother is cheated out of her full, her money. And Abir decides that's why it's called the Henna Startup. She makes an app which will help streamline the payments for her mother. Now, in the midst of all this, the story is not so straightforward. It's about this girl trying to grapple with all these changes in her life. Her parents want her to get married. She's just still in college. She's just doing her 12th, and her parents are setting up her wedding. And in the middle of all this, this app thing is happening. So there is a scene where she's having a discussion with her mother. So her mother talks about how she, 1 minute.
So you can definitely say that Abir, the protagonist of the book, is someone who chases after her dreams and is trying to break free um, from the pressure that's been put on her, like all the other girls,
Yeah,
right?
so I found the thing, sorry. So, your dreams were my dreams too, Abir. I frown. What do you mean? She gazes into the distance. I think she's transported back to the past when she'd been my age. She had gotten married just after she finished her PUC exams. I wanted to get a fine arts degree, she says softly. I gasp. I used to think that Ami was naturally artistic, not that it was something she had actively wanted to pursue. Then, Abba was very reluctant. Back then, there was only Chitrakala Parishad, and I knew he would never agree because it was a co-ed college. So you just got married to Abu? I ask. I snuck away from home one day and got the admission form, filled it out and submitted it, she says. What? She gives me a tiny smile. And then? I got in, of course. Of course, then you gave up and got married to Abu. She casts me a withering look. His proposal had come and Abba agreed and the marriage was fixed. She licks her lips nervously. What? I'm breathless with anticipation. I got his number and called him and I told him I wanted to study even after marriage. I clap my hand over my mouth. I may have kissed Arsalan and broken an engagement, but hello, we're Gen Z, we bring chaos wherever we go. But for Ami to do this, and Abu said no, I ask when she doesn't continue. She smiles and shakes her head. He said, sure. What? She nods. Yeah, but we decided to keep it a secret between us. We got married and I attended classes for some months. Then, I dropped out when I got pregnant, she says. I pale. You mean you didn't complete your education because of me? She rolls her eyes. I was already considering it, Abir. It wasn't easy managing a home, attending classes in secret, and being answerable to everyone at home. We hadn't told anyone except Ammi that I was studying. It was chaotic. I was relieved at one level when I found out I was pregnant. I process her words in silence for a few moments. So why were you pushing me to get married to Sahil when you very well know this can happen? Her face flushes a deep red. Because I thought he would be supportive, like your Abu. I don't want you getting married into a family where you have to navigate through family politics and not get to do what you want. So a supportive husband will be helpful, you're saying. She nods, her eyes lighting up hopefully, but they dim when she sees me shake my head firmly. I don't need Sahil or anyone's support apart from yours and Abu's to fulfill my dreams, Ammi. I'm enough on my own. So
Wow.
so I felt that was something that really kind of showed the generational difference also, So women from our parents' age. So Abe's mother is actually my age, in real. So, but then women from my mother's generation also, they always put themselves last. They never put themselves first. And Abir is someone who does that. She puts herself, her dreams first. And that is something I find it very inspiring, and I feel that's something that all women should aspire to.
Absolutely. I think that's something the readers can definitely take away from the story. Are there any particular real-life events or stories that inspire the narrative in your books?
No, I told you about When She Went Away, right? So yeah, there are not that many. I would say like my novel, More Than Just Biryani, which is also very popular. The first sentence in that story is about Tahira Bilal didn't know that in 3 months she was going to be a widow. That was the story, how it started. But that was something that was inspired by, I saw this video of my, this wedding video of my uncle's wedding, which happened like a few months before my father passed away. So I saw this before I wrote this book, So I saw this video and I saw my mother walking around. She was very busy. Her brother was getting married. She was very harried and she had this very busy thing on her face. And I was watching that video and I was thinking she had no idea that her life was going to change so drastically in a few months. So, that was something that inspired More Than Just Biryani for me. That that was the beginning, of how. So there are a lot of instances, real life things which have happened. Some of them have, some stories I have deliberately set about, coming up with a story. But some have been based on real life, like When She Went Away or Asmara Summer. It's a small kernel of the truth, which I've kind of, fictionalized and made into a story.
What about your book, My Brother's Wedding? Have you taken anything
So
from
My
real life?
Brother's Wedding is one of my most popular novels for some reason. So my brother, my own brother, had a very interesting wedding. As in, he eloped, he got married. We didn't even know that he was married. We got to know like a year later. And everyone assumed in my family that I had written about that because his story was really crazy. But My Brother's Wedding was just about me trying to maintain my sanity while I was going on these. So my sister was getting married actually, and we were going to invite a lot of these people in different cities, in Chennai, in Vellore, and all that. And earlier that year, we'd been part of a road accident, So I was very scared to be on a road trip, but I had to go there. So this story was my way of, transporting myself from the car and, constantly thinking of all the bad things that could happen. So I came up with this story, and why all along the journey, so when all the invitations were over, I came back home and I wrote this book.
Okay. What do you hope your readers will learn or feel when they finish the book?
I just want them to be entertained. I want them to feel like it was time well spent. And, I don't really go about, teaching anything in my stories, except for like in the henna startup, especially for girls, I feel like, you don't settle and you decide to do something with your life. That's about it. I don't have any other such aspirations myself.
Okay. Are there any themes or messages in your latest book that you believe are specifically relevant for today's youth?
Not really. My books are mostly entertainment, and some messages are passed on. Like in my novel, Everything Sucks, which is the latest novel which got published earlier this year. So again, that is a story about these two Instagram influencers. And one is extremely popular and one is just starting out. And how they clash online. But when they meet in real life, things are very different. So I think, how the online world is actually not all that it's made out to be. It's not true. And real world, when you do disconnect from your phones, is very different. So that was, one of the things in this book.
Earlier this year, you published a graphic novel, right? Which is, I believe, your first graphic novel as such. So what was the inspiration behind that, and how did you come up with that?
So I wrote Scarewalk as a novel. It was meant to be a novel. And my editor really liked it. She said it was very visual, and she decided to make it into a graphic novel. So I don't have the actual process of how a graphic novel is done. So I just wrote the book and I sent it to her. So the story idea for that is, 4 youngsters walk into a haunted house sort of thing for that. How you have those haunted house experiences in malls and amusement parks. And this is on the outskirts of the city. It's very secluded. They all have to give up their phones and everything outside. And the illustrations are fantastic. They're so creepy. But then once they go inside, things are very wrong because whatever is happening, none of it is fake. It's all real. They don't know that in the beginning, So that was the idea for me. Like, what if, like any writer will tell you that a story that they want to write happens because of these two words, what if, So what if all the things that were happening inside the haunted house were happening for real? So that was the basis for that story.
You're also the kind of author that explores different genres, right? So you write rom-com, YA, and horror even, right? So how do you handle between all these different genres?
See, I enjoy writing different genres. I don't like to be bracketed in one. And romance especially, I enjoy reading it, I enjoy writing it. But after a point, I get so fed up of it, that in the middle of it, I'm very tempted to make it into a horror. I want to make them kill each other. And, sometimes I often like to joke that, eventually romance becomes horror, because in real life that's what happens. So I kind of like to have my options open. I don't want to be bracketed as just someone who writes only this particular genre. So it's just because I get bored very easily. So that's the only reason why.
So that must be exciting for your readers as well because they get a glimpse of everything, right?
I don't know. I think some of my readers would prefer if I just wrote romance. If I wrote, they're like, why do you have to write scary books? Why do we can't read those books. But I am like, I have to do what I have to do.
Yes, absolutely. So looking ahead, are there any new themes or ideas you're excited to explore in your future writing prompts?
I don't really know. I've actually written a novel and I'm waiting for a publisher to pick it up. And I have a memoir coming out next year. And writing is like always there, constantly happening. So I'm looking at new things to do. I would love to write something like a police procedural or a crime fiction novel, but that's something I feel is not. I feel I'm not equipped well enough to do that. As in, if I write a relationship book, that's all of it is coming from my own experiences or my observations. If I were to write a crime fiction or if I were to write a police procedural, I would have to go spend time at a police station. My mother will kick me, So that's not happening.
Okay. So what do you hope your readers take away from your stories?
I think my readers' takeaway, I would want them to enjoy the book, not feel like it was time wasted. And if they can learn something different about, maybe if they can change their preconceived notions that they have about women, Muslim women especially, I'd be very happy. I used to get a lot of, one of the questions that really annoys me is, what did your family have to say when you became a writer, or have they supported you? Of course they've supported me, and I don't know, I wouldn't say that this is the case for everyone. I'm privileged and I acknowledge that privilege, but at the same time, just because I'm a Muslim woman doesn't mean that my family has kept me tied up in one place and you do this only or you do that only. I'm here so far away from my family. I came alone and I'm a writer, I'm doing my thing. So I feel like that's also important. But yeah, I feel like if readers can pick up on that and feel that some of these issues are universal and not restricted to say a certain community, that will be great.
Yeah, I think it's a common misconception that a lot of people have due to stereotyping or other such issues, right? So your favorite author is Lisa Joel, I believe. Lisa Joel?
No, not really. I enjoy her books, but not so much that she's my favorite author. I enjoy reading a wide genre. Sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, so I was just wondering, what is it about an author that makes it your favorite?
I really want to, what I want readers to feel about when they pick up my book, that anticipation that, they're going to have a nice an hour or two enjoying this. I want to feel that about when I pick up a book too, So I feel that when I pick up any book by Stephen King or by even Lisa Joel or, so many others. So I want to have that sense of anticipation that, because we got into reading because it was entertainment, right? And today I don't know what the situation is, but reading for my generation was entertainment. We didn't have TV as much as it was, for a lot of kids growing up. And of course, we didn't have the internet. So our entertainment was all relegated to books. So for me, I think any author who makes me feel that way would be my favorite author.
Okay. If you ever face a reading block or a block of such kind, how do you come out of it, or how do you force yourself out of that?
So any block, I feel, can be taken care of if you step away from the problem for a bit, Whether it's a reading block or a writing block, if you don't constantly focus on it, that, I have this block right now, I need to, anything will work out once you do that. So I feel that, take a walk, go do something else. you guys are so lucky. You have a beach. Just take a walk at the beach. So anything that puts your mind in a different mood, and you come back and things are different. So whenever I'm asked about writer's block also, I say that, that you step away from the problem, come back to it, and trust the process. Trust the process, trust yourself, have faith in yourself as a writer, and things will work out.
So do you have any inclination towards mystery or crime thrillers? Like, are you planning to maybe...
I said that, right?
Yeah.
I would want to, but I can't. I already said that.
Okay. So apart from all these genres that you have tried so far, what is something that you would be interested to do that you haven't done before?
I'd love to write for a movie. Yeah, I'd like to write a script. But yeah, I also self-publish, so any genre that I feel comfortable in, I'm happy to explore. So I just want to make sure that it's an authentic experience. So that's why there are certain genres I don't really approach. But apart from that, yeah.
Your book, Asmara Summer, is now in Amazon Prime as Dil Dosti Dilemma, right? So what was that like for you? What did you feel when you realized your book is turning into a TV show?
So this has been in the making from the past 8 years, since Asmara Summer was published. It was, the producers, Seema Mohapatra and Jahanara Bhargava, they showed interest in it from the very first, And Amazon came into the picture much later, in 2021. And then they greenlit the show in 2022. It's a very long process, So at some point of time, I had just given up, thinking that I'd have no idea whether it's going to be made into a show, whether I'm going to see it on screen. And I just, decided if it happens, it happens. And then finally, they had the shoot in 2023, and it was released this year. And it's done well, and I'm very happy. It was very surreal seeing, especially I went for the shoot last year, and I saw all these vanity trailers with the character names on it. So it was very surreal seeing characters I dreamt up, Asmara and Farzan and Khalid and all these, and they had the character names were there on the vanity trailers. So it was very surreal. It was very hard to believe, and seeing the show itself was something every writer dreams of that. So I'm just lucky that it happened.
So it must have been a very proud moment for you to see something that you actually wrote come into real life, right?
Yeah, definitely. I still couldn't believe it, It was very hard for me to believe that it's happened. Things are there. It's, my characters are out there making their own stories now.
So thank you for sharing your insights on The Leap. Your commitment to portraying resilience in a realistic manner is truly inspiring. So I believe now it's time for the Q&A session with the audience.
Thank you, Naureen, for the questions. I'm happy to answer any questions from the audience.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Jasira from Calicut. Have you got any breakthrough, any barriers for your writing skills as a Muslim girl?
No, that's what I said earlier. I haven't had any, because I acknowledge my privilege in that I come from a very conservative family but very supportive family. So I have not had any barriers. My family has always supported me in everything that I had to do.
Any advice, and have you got any tips for a future Muslim girls writers?
I think, I don't know whether my tips would be applicable to everyone. Because like I said, my family is very supportive. I don't know whether I can say that for everyone, but I would say you should, if you want to be a writer and you feel very strongly about it, you should talk to your family and tell them why it's important to you and make them understand, get them on your side. It's better to have them on your side than to, be a rebel and say, no, I want to do this no matter what. I mean, that's worked out for me. So.
Thank you so much, ma'am.